Hello and welcome to the Analytics. My name is Daniel Ayongbile. Today we'll be looking at a very important aspect of data preparation, and that is data quality assessment. Before we get our hands dirty today, we'll be looking at what data quality and data quality assessment really is, and we'll also consider the importance of data quality assessment and the dimensions of frameworks to reference the quality of your data. We also look at an important aspect of data processing or data analysis, which is data profiling. From there, we are going to consider how you get to document your data quality findings after you have carried out your assessments. And in the end, we'll get our hands dirty by assessing the quality of a data set in Power Query. You cannot get a useful insight from a poor quality data set. And as your stakeholders rely on your insights to back their guts, you as an analyst, you cannot just decide to, or you cannot afford to analyze a data set without being sure, being certain to a level of the quality of the data set. So what is data quality assessment? Data quality defines the degree to which the data you are analyzing fits the purpose of the analysis or the business problem you are trying to solve. In most cases, your stakeholder already have a rough estimate of some KPIs or some figures based on the day-to-day running of their business. So when you are as an analyst, when the figure you present to them is far from the actual or the actual scenario or the real life figures, you begin to give your stakeholders reasons to doubt your skill as well as your proficiency for the job that you have actually gotten. So how do you actually ascertain the quality of your data set? And that is what brings about data quality assessment. Data quality assessment is the process of evaluating data and measuring it against certain or selected quality criteria depending on the organization you find yourself. It includes analyzing the cause and the impact of the data quality issues and sharing the findings. Your quality assessment is not just for you to keep or just for you to know about it. You must share it with those that are probably the data stewards. It could be the database administrator, it could be the data engineer or the analytical engineer, as the case may be. So when you have analyzed the quality of your data, you also share your findings with the relevant people. Let's look at the importance of data quality assessment. The quality of data is key to making accurate and informed decisions in organizations. So when the data that have been collected to analyze fail to meet the company's expectation or the expectation of the analysis you are to do, you are likely going to get a result or insight that will bring negative impact either to the customer or to the productivity even of the employees as well. So without accurate and reliable data quality, executives can no longer trust the data, or you as well, you will be relying on imperfect reports to give misguided conclusions to your shareholders. An example is if you have a data set with out of date customer database, it may result in missed opportunities. Today, I will just take a quick look at some of the data quality dimensions of frameworks, and the first one I'll be looking at is data accuracy. Data accuracy helps us to know the level to which the data we are actually analyzing represent the actual scenario. For instance, when you look at the first table we have on the left, it consists of customer information, and under it is the transaction table of those customers. Alan Flex is one of the customer, and you can see that Alan Flex placed an order. However, at the top, you will notice that the postcode of Alan Flex is more like his phone number. So, and looking down on the transaction table as well, you will also notice that the delivery date is 2005. Meanwhile, the order was placed on the 28th of December. The same thing applies to James. We cannot tell the quantity of order that James had placed. The next one we are going to look at is data consistency. This dimension represents if the same information stored and used at multiple instances matches. So you have data coming from um, sales department, you have another data coming from finance department. All are customer data. But as you can see from the example I have on the table by the left, you notice that we are having different date of birth for Alan Flex. The data we have for James Richard location is showing just Ghana, not showing the actual um, state in Ghana. The one we have underneath is showing Accra, Ghana. So this is inconsistency in the data sets that can cause a lot of issues. The next one we are going to look at is data completeness. Data completeness defines the degree to which all data values in data sets are available. You want to consider questions such as, are there missing values in this data? And, and as seen in the table, you notice that columns such as location is having missing value, email is having missing values. The last one we'll be looking at, we'll be considering is data validity. Data validity refers to the degree to which the data we are analyzing conforms to the rules or constraints of the table or schema in which it is being used. So an instance is what we have on the table by the left. So you look at that table, aside missing value in the location column, you will also notice that the date of birth of Felicia Payne and Fiona Wigg is actually not valid. Other data quality dimensions that we may be interested in is the timeliness of the data, relevance of the data, orderliness of the data, the auditability of the data set you have, the data integrity, and data uniqueness. Quickly, let's look at data profiling. So how then can you carry out your data quality assessment? And this is where your data profiling techniques comes in as an analyst. Data profiling involves the process of analyzing and exploring your data to understand how it is structured, what it contains, the relationship between the data sets, and how it could potentially be used most effectively. And upon profiling your data, you get to understand the data quality issues. These issues that you have identified, you can then share it with either your database administrator or the data source owner or stewards, as the case may be. Data profiling is an important aspect of data conversion and migration projects, which involve moving data from one system to another. It's also a crucial aspect of data warehousing and business intelligence, as well as source system data quality projects. Data profiling involves checking descriptive statistics like mean, max, count, distinct count, unique count, and in some cases, it helps in identifying the data type, the length, and recurring patterns. It involves checking for null or error. It also involves checking the key integrity. Example, you get to check the primary keys, foreign keys, and also in most cases it helps you to identify orphan keys as well. These are keys that probably you are seeing some keys that you cannot actually trace them to their primary key or the primary table where it is coming from. It involves checking the cardinality, that is, what is the relationship between your tables or queries? Is it one to one, one to many, many to many? Although there are several data profiling tools out there, some of them are Talent, Open Studio, Atacama, OpenRefine, and many more like that. So your data quality assessment is incomplete without a proper documentation of your findings. These documentations helps you to communicate the extent to which the data you are tasked to analyze fit for the purpose of the analysis, so that in the end, your stakeholders will not be blaming you for misleading them, or you get not to look as though you don't know your job, when stakeholders feels that the figures you have um, is incorrect. Meanwhile, it's as a result of the quality of the data you are analyzing. I have a template I designed to record data quality issues personally. You can find it to download on the link below on this video. So be aware as well that data quality assessment is a continual process. And so some big organizations actually have people such as data quality analysts to do this from time to time. So it's not a one-time thing. Now that you have understanding about all these things, it's time for us to move into the project and get our hands dirty. Are you ready? So let's go.
Hello guys. So now it's time for us to get our hands dirty. We'll be getting our data from an Excel workbook, and we are going to be using Power BI Desktop Power Query. You can use Excel Power BI. You can use Excel Power Query as well. Um, so I'll go to Get Data from the Home tab, Get Data, and I'm going to select Excel Workbook since the data set I'm getting is from Excel Workbook. Okay, so in my local machine, I have it saved as project to data. We have a link under this video for you to download this data set and the data quality assessment template where you use to document your findings. So I'll just load this data in and let's wait for it to load. Okay, so I'm having three sheets in this workbook. I'm just going to click on this sheet. I'm going to select all and I'll load. I'm not going to load it, I'm going to transform data. So this takes it into our Power Query editor. All right. So we have our Power Query editor open. From here, what I'll do is, so here you notice we have customer, we have product, we have sales. We are going to start with the customer table. So if you look at the customer table, you will notice that we are having 15 columns and 999 plus rows. Looking at from where this data source is coming from, you will notice that the first row is showing as column 1. The first column is the columns are showing as column 1, column 2. And if you look at the first row, you notice that we're having the first row showing as the column header. So let's just promote the header. So come to the top left here where my cursor is and click on it. Go to use first row as header. Um, this is a quality issue as well that we can also talk about. Here you notice that everything is, the data type is not properly defined. So for me to do that, I'm just going to select all these columns and then I will automatically ask Power BI to detect the data type. So I will just press Ctrl A, selecting all. So I selected all by using Ctrl A to select all. And then you come to Transform tab at the top here and come to Detect Data Type. So when I click that, all right, so with this that has been done now, the next thing I'm going to do is I will just we'll begin our data profiling. There is a function in Power Query, but you don't have it on the user interface here. That is called it's an M code table.profile. So what table.profile does for us is it helps us to see our table as a whole. So if you have bringing your table from say an SQL database or from a cloud source. So you can actually use table.profile to profile your data. It will give you the minimum, the maximum count and everything like that. So let's do that first. I just want to show you this so you know this. There are other ways where you can get that as well without having to do it. So what I will do first is I'm going to duplicate this particular customer table. To duplicate, just right click on the table you have selected and go to duplicate. So you notice now that it's been duplicated, go to Home tab. On the Advanced Query Editor under Query Group, Advanced Query Editor, click on it. It opened. So let's just go to the end here. So at the end here, we are going to define the data type. I mean, we are going to put a comma because we want to write one more code. I will call it table profile, and I will say that. So you just say table dot profile. You see, the intelligence already brings it out, and then you put the last step here, which is hash change type. Okay, and I'm going to change this to table underscore profile as I have it there. Our syntax is correct. We have the green check here. Then I can say done. Now, what this does for us is that it helps us to actually summarize or profile our data for us to see how it looks. So on the first column, you're having all the columns you have in the table. As you can see, I have address, birth date, commute distance, cost ID, education, and I have the minimum. So the minimum may not apply to all, especially it applies to say date and our number or text, a number or integer or float. So the minimum birth date that we have in the customer table is 1759. And so if men looking at this profile, table profile for customer, we are already detecting some issues. What are those issues? As you can see, according to this data set, someone that is born in 1759 should not be part of this table at all, because that's way like about 200 and something years. Which is wrong. It should not be part of our table. And how do you get to know that? That's why it is important that you're actually familiar with the business or the organization you are dealing with, or else you will not be able to assess the quality of the data as you should. Then, based on the business requirement you are trying to solve or you are trying to work with, that will also help you to assess the quality of the data you are looking at. So, the organization determines. So, this is already telling us that we are having inaccurate data in our customer database, as a customer cannot be about 200 plus as at this time, year 2022. Our cost, the minimum customer ID is 11,000, or let me say 11,000. We have phone number, and then there is this column. I don't know what this column means. The minimum here is 10,000 as well. So let's take note of that. Let's look at the maximum as well. Okay, so the maximum age, date of birth here is 1986. Okay, the maximum customer ID is 29483. We can look at, okay, total children 0. Then we can get to ask whosoever who gave us the data set to ask, what does 0 mean? Does 0 mean that the person does not have any child, or is 0 representing null? You just need to be sure where this data is coming from. So we started profiling our data already. Then you look at the maximum number of children is 5 here. If you look at it, um, if you look at it, sorry, okay. So the maximum, we have looked at average, standard deviation as well, count. Okay, so I can tell that the total number of rows in my data set is 18,440 rows. So I'm having 18,440 rows in my customer database. Okay. Um, if you look at this one, is already showing me null count. So my date of birth is having 42 missing values. Which one is 57? Let's look at which one is 57. So if I click on this, 5. Education is having 57 missing value. Um, Last name is having missing values of 19. You can see number of car owns. That column is also having 45 missing values as well. So a missing value has to do with completeness of the data. Don't forget the data dimensions. Um, so we are going to record all these things as well. We'll look at how does these things affect our assessment. How does the so eventually we are going to assess all these things and we properly document them in the template I have given to us. So now that I have looked at this, let's go back to our customer table. Now, don't forget this is, let me just name this one customer profile. Customer table profile. When we are done, we can always delete this one. So let's go back to this customer table. So on the customer table, Power BI already has done the profiling for us. So we know that it's telling us that valid, this column is 100% valid. The validity may be talking about the accuracy as well. Error, there are no error, no inaccurate data, there are no empty or incomplete data uh, issue here. That's what it's saying. But you will notice that there we're saying that in the profile here, we are saying that we're having about 18,440 rows of data. But here we are having just 1,000. That is because Power Query only load the first 1,000 rows of your data set. But how do we change that? How you get to change that is come down here under column profiling based on top on 1,000 rows. Just click on it. On clicking on it, you see a pop out and then select column profiling based on entire data set. So if I click on that, okay, so allow it to load. Okay, so you notice now that we are now having 18,440 distinct customer ID and 18,440 unique customer ID. So the unique for primary keys, you need to ensure that your distinct count is the same thing as your unique count. If your distinct count is not the same as your unique count, it already tells you that there are duplicate values in your customer key. And take for instance, for a customer table, and you're having duplicates, something is wrong. Because each customer should have one unique ID. So if you're having multiple ID for a particular customer, then there is an issue with where this data source is coming from. That you can easily access here. But here, if you look at it, so if I for us to look more on this data, just click on this column. So let's click on the column. Okay, so clicking on this column, we have the statistical information we have in the profiling we did earlier. The number of counts, errors, empties, distinct counts, unique counts, empties, zeros, minimum and maximum, the average, standard, even number of even numbers that are there, number of odd numbers that are there. And then and this information, if you need it somewhere, you can always click on these three dots at the top here and copy. And then you can go and paste it wherever you need to use it. Also by the side there, you notice that Power Query helps you to show the distribution of the values in that particular column. And aside that, Power Query, you can come to this three dots here and then copy this to your Excel file, Excel sheet, or wherever you want to copy it to. Or you can regroup. You can group by sign. Maybe there is a negative sign in this. Okay, so here you notice that we just have one. One is signifying that it is positive. So if in this column we are having positive and negative, when you click on that, it will tell you the number that is showing as negative, the one number that is showing as positive. So positive will be 0. You understand? All right. So then we can also look at this by parity, even and odd. So here we are having 9,222 even number and we are having 9,218 odd numbers. So depending on, you can always change, come back to values to say it. So that's that. So it seems pretty well that our customer ID table is our customer ID column is perfect. The next one we'll look at is our first name. Okay. So if you look at our first name, we're having same number of rows, is having about 669 distinct value and 92 unique value. This is possible because two customers can be bearing the same name, but two customers cannot have the same customer ID. So that's that. So then I think the most important thing here is for us to come here, look at the distribution. The distribution too, yes, we have, if you look at the name Catherine in our first name, is about 97 of our customers bears that name. Yeah, so the same thing applies. Say we want to know the text length of the names. I mean, if we come here now, I click on text length. On these three dots by this side, group by text length or value. So text length. So you can see there are some, the name is just two letters. You can see there are some that are three. And another thing you can do is, say you are actually interested in those that the text length of their name is just three. Just over on it. You can see if I hover on it, it brings this information out. So if I want over on this now, it's telling me that there are about 468, that is 2% of my entire data set, that their text length is three. So I can filter with that. So I can, if I say equals to, it means that it's going to filter those that their first name text length is three. It will filter it out. So if let's click and let's see, you see it has added a step here. First, filtered rows. So I'm having John, Rob, Lan, Anna, John, Ami, Jan, Yan, and so on, Mia, and so on like that. So I would remove this step. We pretty do not have any issue with our first name as well. Our last name. Now, in our last name, already at the top here, you already see that it's telling us that the number of valid name we're having is 99%. There are no errors, but we have empties. And if you highlight on it, it's telling us that about 19 are empty. That information we already have here though. And we can tell here also that we're having distinct value of 373, unique value of 123. That is possible as well. You can also see the value distribution. You can check the text length also. Another thing we can do is come here now. So don't forget you are profiling your data. So one of the things you need to do is, as you are doing this, so I'll filter out customers. Probably you don't know how I got this. So you come to this arrow here, drop down arrow, come to text filters, equals. So I want to filter on those that are null, those that are empty. I want to know those that are empty, null. As you've seen it now, I can, oh, so these are the 19 customers that they're having null last name. We don't know their last name. And one of the things you can do is, so I already figure out a data quality issue here. So I can just come to my template here. So I'm dealing with customer table. Just type customer. The ID, the column is last name. So what is the issue? Missing value, completeness. Just put zero. When you type zero there, click enter. The way I've done it, you notice. So it's telling me there's an issue here. And so here I can say there are missing customer last name. Solution. Based on my analysis, I may not need some. This field is not really important to my analysis. So another thing is, the list of customers with missing last name will be sent to DB administrators, database administrators. You notice that? And then, so here now, if you have any recommendation you can give, but if you don't have, you can always leave it. So let's go back to our Power Query again. So now that I've identified this here now, I can always come here, remove. Here now, I can come and let's move to the next one. That is date of birth. So if you look at this, is showing the date of birth of our customers. Already from here, we have the same number of rows. 42 are empty. So I can come to my profile and say birth date. So you give the column name as it is there. So they are missing values. Just type 0 there. So that's one issue I've seen there. So let me go back. We are having missing values. It has shown here 42 missing values. 42 missing values. So then from here, um, distinct and unique does not really matter here because two customers can have the same birthdays. And it can so happen that we have just one customer having a particular birth date. Then the minimum here we are seeing is 19 9 14 17 59. And don't forget, I mentioned earlier that this is odd, this is strange. A customer, we should not have a customer having about the age of like 200 years thereabouts in our database. So something is definitely wrong somewhere. So how do we go about that? So what I will do is I'm just going to filter this out of this data set. Oh, so as you can see here, that is it comes in handy 1759 followed by, so let me just filter out 1759. So let's see how many customers. Oh, it's just one customer. It's just one customer. Another thing you might want to do is also to filter out this customer and see if there exists any other. So let me click on this. Okay, there's somebody giving birth in 1916, and I think within the range of our data set that we are looking at, this is still fair. It's a fair deal. That is correct. So I have noticed 1771, like 1759, like I've seen here. So I'll come and report this. This has to do with inaccurate data or the validity of it. It has to do with the validity of the data. Most times the dimensions are intertwined. So I'll come here and I will say this has to do with validity. I'll put 0. So anybody that is looking at this can easily tell that, okay, last name is having just completeness issue. Birth is having completeness and validity issue. So then you can give information here as you have incomplete and invalid column. If you have recommendation, you can give as well. You can recommend. Your recommendation here is to the data owner, like I have mentioned. I'll go back to my Power Query again. There is really nothing I need to check again here. Um, Possibly you can check the length of your data group by, but that does not apply here. In case you want to look at the year, that's one thing else. You can group by year, you can group by week of this. So let's group by year and see. Okay. Oh, so here you can see the distribution, and we can say that most of our customers fall within 1957. See, fall within 19, maybe 1958 to about 1985, if we want to pick it like that. So this shows you the distribution of our customer age. And you can, like I said earlier, you can always copy this and send. You can decide to do it based on the month as well, the months of birth as well. Most of our customers, only few of our customers were giving birth in June and July. Others are okay, depending on. You can see that's just to show you how this is already even giving you insight concerning your customer database, your customer table as it is. I'll move to marital status as well. Let's check. So if I click on, so our marital status is saying 100% valid, no error, no empty. So if I look at, we're having four distinct value. So what is going on? Let's get to look at what are the strings that show. So I'm having M, I'm having S, I'm having single, I'm having married. Based on my understanding of this data, this customer data, you are either married or you are single. So I'm looking at what we have here. M is probably married, S is single as well, but it's just the way it is um, represented. So whoever actually inputted the data must have done a very terrible job. So we need to record this as well. You can see, so this is inconsistency. This is inconsistency. So I'll go to here, come to my marital status column. Column values are inconsistent. Okay, so I can come here and put 0. All right, so depending on, so that's how you run through. So because of, I want to keep this video very short, I'll just run through. Let's look at another one. Okay, so you can look at this column now. We don't even know what the column name is. So you may need to document this out as well. Take note. So let your database administrator, wherever the data is coming from, the source owner, let them know that, okay, there's a column that is showing as this. What is the name of this column? Is it showing, is it representing a value of how much they have spent with us? Is it their salary it is representing? So you get to know what it means as well. Um, Total number of children as well. You are seeing, if you look at it, you are seeing 0. What does 0 really mean? Does 0 means null, or does, and null and 0 may not be the same. So you need to confirm what does 0 really mean in that case. Another one we can look at, education as well. They are missing values. Just go through your table, your column by column, and define the, okay, so look at here, is showing as both number and text. So something is definitely wrong. So if we try, the best we can do is to try to, okay, let's convert it to text. Hmm. Let's try and convert this to text. Oh, I already see. Aside from having null values, I'm saying number of cars owned should not be text. It should be whole number. Let me put it as whole number. Replace current step. Okay. So here now I'm already having error. I'm having error already. Can you see? So this is showing us we have empty. Do we have error? So let's see. There are no error according to this, but there is error here because I guess it's because it's little, it's just 1 or 2, I don't know. So we can just click here, click on this column and come to keep rows. So let's keep error rows, which you can see we have just one column that is showing us error under number of number of cars owned. So go to your documentation file and try to note this as well. I'll remove this step. Um, Address line on and on like that. So that's how you do it. So we are done with this. Yeah. So just go through all your column in the customer table and try to identify the data quality issues that are showing there, and then have them properly documented in the template I showed you. So that's how it is done. So what we have done is basically to assess the content of the data. There is also a need for us to look at the relationship with the data as well. So you look at the relationship. So because if I come to, so there is a relationship with our between our customer table and our sales table. There's a relationship between our product table and our sales table as well. And this relationship are defined by foreign keys that we have in our sales table. So you see, let's try to do the same thing we did. So I'll come to sales table now to access our sales table. So let's look at our sales table. So in our sales table, we are having column one, column two, column three. Meanwhile, the first row is showing as product ID, customer ID. So this is definitely the column headers. So let's promote the row one as the column header. We come to the top left here, click on it, and then you see this pop out. So go to use first row as header like we did earlier. So you notice the data types are also not correct. I want to assume that's because this is coming from an Excel file. So just the way it is now, just press Ctrl A to select all the column and go to transform and click on detect data type. Yes. If this is coming from a database, I think you would not be having this issue. And if such issues exist, it's probably because there's an error with your data set, and your data quality assessment has started just with that. So we are going to do this. So since this is a transactional table or a fact table, our sales, what it means is that one particular customer can actually make or must have made multiple purchases. So it's possible for us to have our duplicate in our customer ID here. So that's one. And another thing here is our customer ID is a foreign key on this table. So also is our product ID as well. So the type of relationship that is going to happen between our customer and our sales table should be a one to many, one from the customer, many in the sales table. That is one customer making many purchases. It shouldn't be one to one. It should not be um many to one based on customer to sales table. So one of the things we want to check is you want to ensure that all the customers ID showing here, they actually exist in your customer table. Let me repeat that. You want to ensure that all the customers you have here, I mean no, all the customers you have in your sales table showing here as foreign keys, you want to be sure that you have them in their primary table, that is your customer ID. And how do you do that? That's what you just need to do, is just do a simple merge, a simple join rather. So what you do is come to your sales table, go to home tab, and then see merge query. So let's merge query. So customer ID on the sales table, then go to your customer table, select customer ID as well. Okay, look at here. There's a problem. Something is definitely wrong. So it's telling us here that 54,230 of the rows in our customer table, in our sales table, matches, oh sorry, 54,230 of 54,442 rows from the first table. So let's try to figure out what the difference are. So here if I'm expanding this, so I'm going to leave the customer ID here. Um, so let's just have it like this. Okay. So what do you notice? So we have all our customer ID here from customer table. Then you go back to your customer ID. Now you notice one thing also that we have not done. This is still showing the first 1,000. So how do we do? Come down here and click this, show the entire data set. So it will profile it based on the entire data set. Now the customer table seems to be a very large, and the sales table seems to be a very large table. So I think that's why it's taking time. So look at our customer table, our customer ID here rather, and then look at here. You see there are missing values. Meanwhile, when you come to this place, there are no missing values in the customer ID. That is because there is an orphan key here. What is an orphan key? An orphan key or orphan keys are keys or are foreign keys. Orphan keys are foreign keys that cannot be traced to its primary table or primary key. So if I click on this and I filter on all, so go to this here, click on this, filter numbers equals, just put null, click OK. So you notice what that means is that all these customer IDs here, they are not showing here. They are not in the customer table. So how many of them? Let's come to this place. If I click on this now, so you notice that we are having about 42 customers that we cannot trace them to our customer ID. We don't have any information about them in our customer table. They are missing from our customer table. So all these IDs are orphan keys, and that's going to cause a lot of issues. It's going to cause a lot of issues in our analysis. If we don't detect this, it's going to cause a lot of issues in our analysis. So take note of that. So what you want to do is go to this file that I've created. Probably see I have the template. So what you do is you can just duplicate this, make a copy. So let me call this one customer table. I'll call this one sales. And here I can come here and say sales table, the column customer ID. What's the problem? So you can say there are orphan keys or outliers. Say outliers in that is some customers cannot be traced to the customer table. So what is the solution? The solution will probably be that we actually send the list of these customers to the database administrator. If not found there as well. The rows will be dropped. Yeah, so I can just keep this as this. I can keep this as this as well. All right. So, and then you can specify whichever data issue it relates to. So it still has to do with it has to do with incomplete data as well. So let's go back. So we have done the same thing here. So now that you have done this, now what you have done now is you have profiled, you have assessed the relationship between the tables. So if you're having many tables that are related, try as much as possible to find the relationship between say the um, dimension and the fact tables. Try to check the relationship between them. If it is one to many, many to one, check the relationship between them to be sure that okay, you are not having foreign keys appearing in any of them. In some cases, it is possible, there is a possibility of it is still okay if you have some customers appearing in the customer table, but they are not showing in the sales. But that you are having customers showing in the sales table and they are not showing in your customer table, that is something is definitely wrong in that case. So you do the same also with your with your product ID. So if you come to product table here, let's do the same. Let's do some cleaning a little bit. Let's make the first row the header. Use first row as header. Select all and detect data type. Okay. So what other thing do we do? So you need to look at this table as well. Try as much as possible to. So let's look at this. Okay, you see this product ID, which is a primary key, is distinct 169, 169 tells us okay, this is okay. So you try to check the relationship between the product ID here and the product ID there too. How do you do that? You do it just the way we have done it. I'll do it again so that you get it. So I've deleted the first one we had. So I'll still come here. I'm going to make a join, a left join. Come to the sales table. Yes, I didn't mention the type of join. I'll make a left join with the product ID in the sales table. In fact, and that will reveal to us if there are some orphan keys here as well. So let's go to our home tab, go to combine group under match query, match queries. So I'm going to select product ID from here, and then I'm going to select our product here as well, product ID. Let's see. There's an issue here as well that the selection matches 53,000 out of this number of rows in the first table. So let's take a look at it as well. Let it load. I will expand this here. I'll just pick the product ID. Okay. Let's see. Let it load. This will take time depending on the size of your data. Okay, so here it's telling me that I'm having 1% empty as well. So I want to filter on, I'm interested on the columns on or the rows that are showing as empty. So just type null here. Okay, can you see? So these are the, click on this. So we're having three product IDs that we cannot trace to our product table. It means we're having three products that have been sold but cannot be traced to our product table. So that's a problem on its own that we may need to actually track as well. So you can see the value of this product ID 2283143. So if I pick this 228 now or 314, if I pick 314 and I come to product table and I click, let me try to filter on 314. Let's see if we have it. So you can see it's not showing anything. Let me just click OK. There's even nothing to see because 314 is not part of this table at all. 314 is not part of this table at all. So we cannot find 314. So equals to 314. You see, this table is empty. So there's nothing like I'll remove the apply step. So 314 is missing. Also, don't forget that when you want to do your product table as well, you can do the customer profile, customer table. The way I did customer table profile, you do it for table for this as well. You do it for sales as well. So when you do it, all your findings from all these things, from the content, the structure of the data, as well as the relationship, those three things are the things you assess. You profile while profiling your data. You get to check the content, you get to check the structure, you get to check the relationship. When you have done all these things, the informations you have gathered is what you are going to share with your stakeholders. And you also make sure that when you are done with, even when you are done with these things, you send your findings, your data quality findings with important people like the database administrator, data engineer and co. So most of these issues are things that probably they can help you from the back end, from the database, or probably they have more insight. Or it could be the data owner, it could be an HR data, and maybe there is a particular file somewhere that has those informations that are missing. So when you reach out to them, they will let you know that okay, this is where you can get this particular data. So this is the end of this. Please drop your comments. Let me know on the comment in the comment section. Let me know in the comment section if there's something you think I need to do, or if you are interested in one particular project or the other. Kindly let me know, and then we'll follow through. My name is Daniel Ayangbile. Thank you, and hope to see you. So if you have not liked, you have not you have not subscribed, kindly like, kindly comment, and subscribe to this channel as there are more to come. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye.